Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. Believe it or not, despite what the mainstream media says, there is other news going on right now around the world. And in fact, a lot of it is really fucking important. There's a lot of news that is not just Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Let's take, for instance, what I'm going to be covering in this episode of Moment of Clarity, the fact that we've yet again been lied into war. New evidence and new information has come forward as to the lies that have gotten us involved in Syria, that have helped destroy their civilization, which I'm sure they're very thankful for. You know, I'm sure we'll be getting the Hallmark greeting card sent to America at any moment now saying, thanks for destroying all of our buildings and infrastructure. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the sanctions that make it so that we have electricity for 2 hours a day or whatever the fuck. Our sanctions are crushing to them, but of course, it's not just sanctions. We're also bombing. We've also have soldiers over there, and the mainstream media has not covered a lot of it. They've also very much not covered the fact that the lies we were told to get into Syria have now been debunked. And so, what I want to talk about in this moment of clarity is the recent testimony to the UN. Just a few days ago by the Grayzone's Aaron Maté. You might have heard the Grayzone, me mention the Grayzone before. They do great reporting. They do great work, which is why they are attacked by the mainstream media. They're also attacked by Wikipedia. Wikipedia has gone above and beyond to make sure that Grayzone has, tarnishes on, various ways to tarnish their record and try and call them not a legitimate source. And it's all horseshit. It's because they reveal the lies of our empire. And there are plenty of lies of our empire to go around. But this one has to do with Syria, has to do with the lies that have led us into Syria. And the Grayzone helped report that. Aaron Maté now works for the Grayzone. He's previously with Democracy Now!, previously with The Real News, great journalist. He was asked by the UN Security Council to speak. Obviously, they're doing the meetings virtually during the pandemic. And he was asked to speak on the issue of the OPCW and their reports about the Syria chemical attack in Douma. Now, you may recall that we used that chemical attack as our reasoning for why we had to bomb, why we had to attack Syria, why we had to keep funding the moderate rebels, which don't actually exist, which many of them were connected to al-Nusra and various al-Qaeda affiliates. But we called them moderate. If beheading is how exactly do you view beheading as moderate? Well, we left the rest of the body there. Hey, that's moderate, right? We didn't cut the whole thing off, just the head. So Aaron Maté has become somewhat of an expert on what's going on with the OPCW, which is the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. They're kind of the be-all and end-all of intergovernmental, international panels or organizations that decide whether chemical weapons are used, decide whether countries have stockpiles of chemical weapons, and they're supposed to be unbiased. That's kind of the idea. That's why it's not called, America's Chemical Weapon Organization, because then you have a national bias. So the idea behind the OPCW is that it's not biased. And some very shady things happened with their reporting on the chemical attack in Douma, the supposed chemical attack in Douma. And so I'm going to read this. I'm going to play a clip of Aaron in a second here, speaking to the UN Security Council. But I also wanted to, read something here from the Grayzone. Okay, so this is the Grayzone article on Aaron testifying to the UN Security Council. Veteran OPCW inspectors who investigated an alleged chemical attack in Douma, Syria in April 2018 say that their probe was censored and manipulated. Under direct U.S. government pressure, the OPCW concealed evidence that pointed to the incident being staged on the ground and instead released a report that suggested Syrian government culpability. The allegation against Syria led to the bombing of Syria by the U.S., France, and the UK just days after the alleged Douma incident. So most of you probably remember this, that this was what we used. This is what we used to justify some of our attacking of Syria. I mean, we were already attacking them in a variety of ways. But remember, it was started under Obama, the famous red line. If Syria uses chemical weapons, it's a red line that will require us to go in there and destroy their country. That's because that's what we're really good at. We're really good at, it's like if a China shop was getting robbed and they were like, let's bring this bull in because this bull is going to help us. And then you invite the bull into the China shop, and lo and behold, it doesn't really help with the robbery. It just destroys everything in sight. That's kind of what we are. So we'd already, had that Obama red line, the chemical attack, and then they started saying that Syria was, Assad was using chemical weapons, which made no sense for him to do that because he was already winning the war against the rebels. He was already bombing people. I mean, that's what is often done in war, is bombing people. And so why did he feel the need to use the one weapon that would ensure that the U.S. would attack him and be in Syria? It's completely illogical. But besides all that, the OPCW goes to Duma after the attack, and they check it out, and they come out with a report. And then that report suddenly gets altered, as we found out from OPCW whistleblowers. The reporting on this alteration of the report has been basically non-existent in your mainstream media. Their heads so far up their asses, it's very dark in there. They can't breathe well, so it's understandable that they didn't quite see that going on. And so some of the great reporting has been done by the Grayzone, a few other alternate resources. Some very well-known journalists like John Pilger and Robert Fisk and Seymour Hersh have done reporting on how these chemical attacks either appeared to be staged or appeared to not happen at all. So anyway, this is now I'm going to play a clip from Aaron's actual address to the UN Security Council.
The OPCW, the world's top chemical weapons watchdog, is facing a serious scandal. Leaks from inside strongly suggest that the OPCW has been severely compromised, and the implications of this are grave. It would mean that in the case of Duma, the OPCW was exploited to accuse the Syrian government of a chemical weapons attack in Duma in April 2018. It would also mean that the OPCW was used to retroactively justify the bombing of Syria by several member states just days after the alleged Duma incident. In short, it appears the OPCW was compromised to justify military strikes. There are also indications that the OPCW has retaliated against two veteran officials, one of them is here today, who were a part of the Duma investigation and challenged the censorship of the Duma evidence. These two OPCW officials are highly regarded scientists with more than 25 years of combined experience at the organization. Yet, instead of being protected and given the chance to air their concerns, these two scientists have seen their reputations impugned by the OPCW leadership. There is substantial evidence to back all of this up, and today I will try to summarize the key details.
There's just a little bit of Aaron's testimony to the UN. I'm not going to play the full details. It's 15 minutes long, but feel free to go to the Grayzone if you'd like to listen to Aaron's entire report on that. But he mentioned the two whistleblowers that have come forward. And like he said, they have been mercilessly attacked as if they aren't professionals, as if they haven't been with the OPCW for years. And this is what the U.S. does, right? We manufacture consent for war via lies. If we can't get official bodies to go along with our lies, then we either pressure them or we say they don't count, they're not real, they're not, they're lying in order to make us look bad, and we try and impugn them. So clearly the U.S. somehow has taken control of the OPCW in general, which is why this report got altered to begin with. And you can actually, luckily, we've got the original, thanks to these leaks, which again have been covered by the Grayzone, we've got the original report about Duma, and then we've got the altered version from the OPCW. So we've got the original OPCW report, which says completely different conclusions than the doctored report, which was ultimately put forward by the OPCW. And I think one of the biggest points here is, where is the mainstream media? This is a massive scandal, a scandal of a kind that is just incredible. I mean, it's on the level of WMD in Iraq in terms of what it ultimately justified, supposedly, which was our attack on Syria, our destruction of Syrian society, so that causing a massive refugee crisis that the mainstream media has talked about, right? They talk about the refugee crisis. They show that the little boy, the dead on the shores, where after drowning from trying to escape with his family, right? And Hillary Clinton said, "Oh, your heart breaks for that little boy," and all these things. Well, we helped create that. We helped do that. We have propped up and trained and funded these so-called moderate rebels so that a war could continue in Syria for as long as possible. And it served our purposes. Our purposes in Syria, they say, oh, we haven't won in Syria, or what does winning look like in Syria? But our real goal was to just make sure that Syria is close to a failed state. It was just to destroy that area, both because of a pipeline that we didn't want going through there, and because of we don't want any strong nations that are outside of our control, which is also why we hate Iran. The strong nations in the Middle East that are outside of our control and outside of our central banking system. Syria is outside of our petrodollar. That's why we've gone after Iraq and Libya, and we're trying to go after Iran and Syria. You go down the list. And so here we are with evidence, irrefutable proof, including whistleblowers, including leaked documents, saying that the American people and the world were lied to about the justification for that attack. At the very least, that's a massive news story. Even if you want to have your little stupid CNN panels where one side says, oh, this is horrible, and the other side says, it's fake news. Even if you wanted to have your crap panel on CNN, it should still be a story. It's still a scandal. But no, they don't even mention it. Not even required to mention that we were completely lied into war yet again, as we were in Iraq, as we were in Libya, as we were in Afghanistan, as we were in Vietnam, as we were in Korea. Just about every war America has been involved in is surrounded lies and misinformation and propaganda. So yet again, we're seeing that. And how sad is it that the only outlet you can find that's really doing extensive coverage is the Grayzone? I mean, I think the Grayzone's wonderful, but wouldn't it be great to see this on the mainstream airwaves? I think it's just pathetic that is the only place. I think the Grayzone does amazing work, but these stories should not only be for the Grayzone. They should not only be for the Aaron Matés and the Max Blumenthals and the Ben Nortons at the Grayzone. They should be covered fucking everywhere, because this is crucial. All right, so if you want more of the nitty-gritty details of what went on in Duma, you can definitely go check out that Grayzone article. Something unrelated that I wanted to tell you guys about, which is huge news, and I think many of you are going to be excited about this, is Peter Joseph has just today, after a long 5-year wait in which he's been working his ass off, released Inner Reflections, his new film. For those who don't know, Peter Joseph is the creator of the Zeitgeist movement and the Zeitgeist films. He's also put out multiple books. He's done incredible work. Culture in Decline was another video series he created. And he now has, I think it's his first scripted film, as opposed to documentary style. And it's called Inner Reflections, INTERR Afflections. EFLECTIONS. And you can find it on Vimeo. It doesn't have an easy link, so you can either search for Inner Reflections, and then you got to make sure and click the thing on the side that says on demand, because it'll just show you the videos responses to your search you got to click on demand to find it. But maybe probably the easier way to find it is to go to my Twitter, which is @LeeCamp. I just posted the link, so you can check out Inner Reflections by just clicking on that link. @LeeCamp on Twitter. Also, of course, Peter Joseph has tweeted it out as well. He's @ZeitgeistFilm on Twitter. Most of you know, but the Zeitgeist movement is a ridiculously in-depth and impressive critical analysis of capitalism that shows how it is destroying our world, how it is creating war, and how peace will never happen under capitalism. It's actually, the economic system is designed to create war over resources and false scarcity. We don't actually live in a world now where scarcity should be a thing. We could live in a world where everyone has food and shelter and clothing and a life that is not troubled or destitute, and we're not all wage slaves at jobs we fucking hate. So, the critical analysis of capitalism that is done with Zeitgeist is really impressive. I mean, even if you want to debate it, at least you should check it out, because it's phenomenally in depth and well researched. But this is not, the film though is not about, I mean, it is about economics, but it's not about economics. You know what I'm saying? It's a very interesting and enjoyable. I mean, it looks like a big budget film. It's very impressive. And I think that anyone could watch it. You don't have to have an interest in how capitalism is destroying our world, or how we live in a world of false scarcity, or how money is debt the moment it's created. You don't have to think, oh, I love those things. Wow, how entertaining. I love to have parties where I just talk with strangers about how money is debt. No, that's not exactly what this is. So you should check this out. It's enjoyable. It's funny at times. It looks like a big budget film, even though it was made almost entirely by Peter Joseph and obviously the actors. But what he's done is truly incredible. So highly recommend it. You can grab I'll try and put the link in the description, but also you can grab it at Lee Camp, my Twitter. I just tweeted it out. Please share it. Please let everybody know. Inner Reflections, check it out. And these videos, I do these every single day, except sometimes. It's really more every single weekday, except sometimes. But so if you miss one, just go to leecamp.com and you can check it every day. And I hope that you'll start the habit of checking leecamp.com every day for the breaking news, what's the mainstream media is not covering, as it wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole made out of the bones of their victims. No, they would not. Those are the type of stories I cover. So please check out leecamp.com. You can also join the free email list simply by texting the word redacted to 33777. That's how you join in America. Outside of the country, you can go to leecamp.com and join there. All right. Keep fighting.